Welcome to the Transform My Dance Studio podcast, the only podcast for dance studio owners, where each week we bring you business growth strategies to help you increase your profits, impact the lives of more students, while ensuring you get back some time to have a little life outside of the studio. It's time for you to become the go-to studio in your area. Now, here's your host, founder of the Dance Studio Owners Association, Clint Salter.
Hey there, dance studio owners. It's Clint here, and welcome to another episode of the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. Today's guest is the co-founder of global online dance phenomenon CLI Studios. A few years ago, John Arpino was chatting with a good friend and choreographer, Teddy Florence, who I'm sure so many of you know, about the huge demand for world-class choreographers and teachers to get into dance studios all over the world. But the limited time and resources available to make this a reality is a little bit tricky. So after many hours of planning sessions and talking with each other and talking with a lot of people in the industry, CLI Studios was born. And I'm sure a lot of you know about it. It's a unique online global platform where dancers and teachers from all corners of the globe can access and collaborate with industry leaders and choreographers. Now, I met John, and the reason we're doing this interview is because John and I met a couple of months ago at an event, and he was speaking and sharing his insights around social media, sharing his story growing up as a male dancer. And I was like, you know what, John, I want to get you on the podcast to share a bit more about, you know, your journey and also helping our studio. So that's why he is here today. Hey, John, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, awesome to be chatting again. So, John, for those of us, our studio owners listening that might not know about you, tell us a bit about, your journey and, how you kind of got to where you are today, which is very different from, being a dancer.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up dancing in a dance studio, like most young dancers. Started when I was 3. Danced at a dance studio all the way through when I was 18. I decided to go to college. I grew up dancing in Massachusetts with Teddy Florence, Kenny Wormald, Nick Baga, Kyle Robinson, a lot of great male dancers, Michael Keefe in the area. So we were pretty fortunate to have just a great group of guys who remained friends throughout the years. I decided to go to college. My passion was a little bit more on the business end, but I kept collaborating and kept working with a lot of the dancers and choreographers that I'd grown up with. As of course, you guys probably recognize the names. They're all professional dancers and choreographers now in LA. And over the years, we just started working together and collaborating on how we could take some creative ideas that they had, make them business realities and creative realities for dance studios, dance teachers, and dancers around the world. So CLI Studios is one of those ventures. It's probably the most exciting project we worked on yet, and it's going really well, and we feel like we're just getting started. So it's a really exciting opportunity to be able to share the talents of 50 plus choreographers and combine dance and technology, and to use a little bit of my background in business to work with dance studio owners who are small business owners themselves. So it's been a really fun collaboration in project for me in a great journey.
Yeah, it's great. Something that just kind of came up for me then is I'd love to, you said, some of your friends, which you mentioned, went on to dance. You like the business side of things a little bit more, but you've been able to kind of mold both of your passions, dance and business, together. What is it like being in partnership? Because you're the co-founder of CLI, how does it work being in partnership with someone that is, highly creative and you on the business end? Do you think that that's a match made in heaven? The reason I ask is because a lot of our studio owners, and I was just speaking at an event the last 3 days, and this idea of like partnership came up. And if I want a partner, who should I bring in? Can you kind of share a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to do business in any creative venture. I think, you really want a good balance of thinking outside the box, really creative individuals. And Teddy is just really great at that, about thinking creatively all the time, really kind of thinking about what's possible. envisioning the future, thinking about dance and how we can push the boundaries. And I think even for studio owners, having somebody who is looking at what you're doing and just thinking creatively about how they can make the studio take it to the next level or add some new classes or new opportunities. Somebody who's thinking more creatively, I think, is a great asset to any business in dance. But then on the flip side, taking those ideas and making them happen requires a lot of organization, a lot of process, a lot of, I call them action steps about what do we do to achieve that goal, and setting all the steps and objectives in between and making sure you're jumping from milestone to milestone to make those happen. And from my experience, I think somebody who's a little bit more trained in business and about taking ideas and knowing the process of making them happen is just a great complement to somebody who thinks more creatively. I think Teddy and I both share some of the same skill sets, and I'm sure a lot of studio owners find that as well. But I, to be honest, I think it's a great balance to have in dance, to have somebody who's purely or much more heavily weighted on the creative end, and then have somebody who's understands dance, understands the creative process, but also knows how to turn ideas into action and really implement those action steps to make something happen. So I would say I love working in teams of 2 or 3 and really building a team where people complement each other. And I think for CLI Studios, we've done that. And a lot of successful studios I've seen have mirrored that sort of, one's a little bit more creative, one's a little bit more business savvy. And I think if they can understand each other, it's a recipe for success for studios and dance companies.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for sharing that, because I think that's a really important point. On that subject though as well, how do you manage, because the thing with working with 2 or 3 people is there's obviously times when there's a conflict on views or thoughts or ideas. Have you got a process around how you work through those maybe sometimes challenging conversations or tough times where you don't all agree?
Yeah, I think it's about, I always think the biggest part about working in teams is being mindful about your own perspective, your own thoughts, and going into a conversation knowing that other people are going to have their own opinions and thoughts, and they're equally as valid, and then working together as a team to come up with what you all think is the best solution. Sometimes a team of 3 is great because there's 3 people, and it's sort of, if you're voting or if you're discussing something, sometimes 2 might feel strongly one way and 1 feels a little bit strongly another way, but it helps you achieve an objective. But I've also found in teams of 2, if you're really in sync on being mindful, on listening to the other person, and almost like challenging your own thoughts and expectations and ideas, it can be really successful as well. You don't need a bigger team to make things happen. And I think, we sit in the office all day and just bounce ideas around, off of each other. And I think having a team, it's a great sounding board to just say, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think about that? And they'll say, well, I like this, I don't like this. And you can kind of refine. But I would say in any team, there's going to be conflicts. We have them. We disagree on different ideas. But I think staying mindful about the reasons other people have their own opinions, and trying to just communicate really clearly and effectively. We always say at CLI Studios, there are no problems, only solutions. Anytime an issue comes up, if you can focus on the issue or the problem, or you can focus on, as a team, working towards a solution, because immediately when there's a problem, the next step is like, okay, how do we address it? How do we fix it? And I think that sort of mindset of let's work together as a team and all be mindful of our own ideas and our teammates' ideas helps, because especially with creative people are passionate about ideas. And I think that's one of the things that makes great business owners is that passion. I think being mindful of the fact that I'm passionate, my business partner Teddy is passionate, we can both go into something and try to understand each other's experience as we're working through something. That's I think the most important thing is just to not let the passion get take control over the decision making and the thinking process. But I think it takes a lot of effort, to be honest. It really is. We're passionate about everything we do here, and I know dance studios are. I talk to them every day, and working in a team, it's about, I think, just like a nice pace to a conversation and really thinking about the other's experience and ideas as well.
Yeah, sure. I love what you said there about, acknowledging the passion, and our studio owners, as you know, are all very, very passionate. But at the end of the day, I think it's having that clear roadmap. Like you mentioned, setting the goals, setting the intention, and then having those action steps of what you need to do. So when you're having a conversation, you can always go back and look at that and say, are we moving in the right direction? Is this conversation even serving us to get us closer to where we want to be? Because often I find studio owners are having conversations that are actually not very, they're important, but they're not very important to that are aligned with their goals and where they want to go. So I think that's a big thing as well, because we had a conversation with a studio owner the other day and in the association, and they were going, talking a lot about, a child leaving and, and it was highly emotional for them, and, they were feeling upset and distraught, but this had been going on for over a month now. And I was like, you know what? This is not serving you anymore. You need to move forward and focus on all those other people and the goals that you've got in place. So do you agree that, having the clarity around where you're headed is really important for the team?
Yeah, definitely. I think I love, just the term action steps, I think is great. Steps meaning that you're planning out where you're going from A to B or from A to Z if it's a long project. But the action part of it, meaning you just stay focused on those steps and you can change them. And that's where the conversations come in. But I think that's a great example of things happen all the time at CLI studios, at dance studios, at other dance companies, where if you dwell too much on anything that's not a part of the vision and the action steps going forward, it can be distracting for your company. One student leaving with 200 students still at the studio is still a great studio. And so I think not letting the emotional part take over and really having those action plans and those action steps toward the goals that you've set, maybe, or even if you're reviewing goals every month. We do that a lot at CLI Studios, even weekly, reviewing goals amongst our different teams and seeing if we're achieving certain objectives or hitting certain milestones. And it really just allows us to stay focused. And when there's passion in anything, it's hard. It's because you want to get sort of stuck on some things that emotionally mean a lot to you. But I think that's it. It's great advice, Clint, just really focusing on the bigger picture in the action steps there.
Yeah. Awesome. It's great. We're on the same page with a lot of things, which is why I wanted to get you on the call today. John, I want to shift gears a bit because, technology is taking over. Well, for many of our studios, it feels like technology is taking over. I presented the other day and I mentioned, Snapchat have brought out spectacles, about to bring out spectacles, glasses for their users that are recording everything and going directly to, Snapchat. I mean, the world is really evolving when it comes to technology. I mean, how do you see this? And I mean, you guys are doing it at CLI, but how do you see technology not so much changing? I'm more interested in it. How is it going to enhance the experience for our students inside of our studio? Because I don't believe that kids are going to stop coming to dance class. There's something about coming to a dance class and being in a room with all of your peers and learning dance that will never be able to be replaced, but I think it can be enhanced. So what do you think is going to happen in this space?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, and that's something that people often sort of misconstrue about technology is as much as technology has progressed, there is huge business around live events, people going to concerts, people going to dance studios, people going to sporting events. As much as you can sit back on your couch and watch and learn and use digital technology, people are still live experiences are things you can't replace. And so whenever we talk to studios about technology, it's about incorporating technology into your business because your customers are interested in technology, because kids are on Snapchat and they're using the Snapchat glasses, or they're on Instagram, or they're going on YouTube, or they're on iPads or phones all the time. It's not going to replace traditional dance education. Live experiences are things that I think just as humans we love, but I think technology is something that you can enhance your business if you're open to allowing technology to sort of to help. And that's what we do a lot at CLI Studios. It's about partnering with dance studios to help them use technology to enhance their business in a lot of different ways. So one thing that I think technology does really well is it helps drive down the cost of things that previously were very expensive and now makes them much more affordable. And that's, I think, we've tried to apply that to dance, basically saying, how can we make it incredibly cheap for kids to learn from Twitch, Allison Holker, Catherine McCormick, Nick Lazzarini, whereas some of the live experiences are a little bit more expensive. They're hard to do them 365 days a year because of the cost. But with technology, you can take things that had been expensive before, you can drive down the cost, you can increase efficiency. And I think even for dance studios, look at dance studio software. That's a great example of everything used to be, a parent would write a check, they'd bring it in, the studio owner would have to deposit all the checks. Now a parent can go on an app or on a website and basically pay the bills for the dance studio and kind of take care of everything electronically, and it saves a dance studio owner time, right? They can just check in and print out reports as opposed to having to, monitor the checks literally coming in and out of the front door every month. And so I think, for dance studios, there's going to be a lot of opportunities in the future and even over the next couple of years to incorporate technology into your business. We talk to studio owners every day about bringing technology into their businesses, using it to help them become more efficient, to generate new revenue, to help with marketing. And I think because customers, the kids and the parents, and new generations of parents, my co-founder just had a baby, Teddy Florence, and when his child goes to a dance studio, Teddy's used to apps like Snapchat and Uber and paying without even realizing you're paying and everything being automated. I think that's a big thing for studios, is just recognizing that the next generation and several generations coming up are just so used to technology that it can really enhance your business. But I am very confident that it's not ever going to take away or replace a dance studio, because you need that personal attention. You need that dance teacher in there, 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week, giving you the corrections over a period of 10 years. That's how you build a great.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I just think it's really exciting. I think we're in such an exciting time now, and like you mentioned, it's a great time to have a dance studio, and I think it's really about embracing technology, not being afraid of it. I had a conversation with a studio owner the other day who said, "Clint, help. I've got this 24-year-old who's opened a dance studio, and they just opened this season, and in the last 3 or 4 weeks, they've got 150 students, straight away." And I was like, but look at what they're doing. They're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram. They started building a relationship months before they open their studio. And so these are the great things that technology is doing for us as well. On that kind of topic, John, of, social media, what are you seeing some great studio owners doing when it comes to using technology to, promote their studio?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about social media and about marketing in general, and we go through this all the time at CLI Studios, is consistency. And just like we talked about before, creating a roadmap and creating action steps around social media, around marketing, and making sure it's something that's a planned activity. I think the biggest sort of misconception about social media is you can just put stuff out there and things happen. You need to be disciplined, and you don't have to understand a lot about social media. It's just about saying, over the next week or over the next month or over the next 3 months, the next, quarter or the whole year, here's what I want to put out. Here's what I want my brand to stand for. You start very high level on social media because that really is your marketing. It's your voice for your business. And so starting out high level and saying, at the end of the year, I want to go through all my Facebook posts and give this sort of emotional response through everything that I've posted. And you work back, you build the action steps and say, what can I do on social media? What can I be sharing to create that sort of brand for my company? And then you just go back from a year to quarters to months to weeks and say, what can I be posting? Can I film short classes of my students doing a combination and they're all having fun, and I post that to Facebook or to Instagram and say, we're not only teaching dance, but we're teaching kids how to collaborate and be creative, and showing your audience that kids are having fun. And a series of those videos over months or over weeks really starts to build a brand for studios. So I think for social media, it's not just a place for businesses to just put your thoughts. It's really like building a plan for how you want to communicate your business, how you want, like at the end of the year, if you looked back through everything, what would that say about your company and your brand? And I think it takes planning. And that's the hardest part, is studio owners and teachers are so busy that it really takes a team to sit down and say, like, who, maybe there's a teacher at your studio who really knows social media well. And you can kind of recruit that teacher to help you build these posts, to help you like kind of create this voice for your company. And creating, again, the action steps of, this week we're going to post this, next week we're going to post something like this, or every day or every other day, however frequently you want to use it. Mm-hmm. I think that's the important part, is like social media is so effective, and all of your customers, I can say with pretty much certainty, all of your customers are on social media. Yeah. They're all out there engaging with it. And so you want to be there, but you have to be there in a planned kind of, it has to become a part of your business, just like you open the front door every day. And you put marketing in the local newspaper, if people still do that. It's really like that kind of planned sort of attention to social media, I think can really help. But I think it does take some planning, and then it can really help a dance studio in any business in dance.
For sure. Great tips. I want to shift gears a little bit, because you guys at CLI bring on some amazing teachers to teach your classes. And a question that comes up a lot in the association is, I want to bring someone out to do a guest teaching or to teach a masterclass. And a lot of people have been burnt by, high celebrity dancers coming in and not being great teachers, being great dancers, but then not knowing how to hold a classroom, engage students, focus on the students. So what are some tips that you have for like bringing on board a great teacher for a masterclass or for some choreography? What should our studio owners be looking out for? I guess more importantly, what are the questions should they be asking?
Yes, that's a great question. And, we're fortunate here at CLI Studios that Teddy Florence is very well respected in the industry. A lot of choreographers know and love to work with him. And he's really built great relationships with, over 50 choreographers here in LA that sort of tour around the world and work with studios. And it is very hard to find. There's a lot of great dancers and great performers out there. People who are very passionate about teaching. Sometimes you can have somebody who's loves to perform, but might not love to teach. And so I think it's definitely something that's hard for studio owners to identify and figure out on their own. I would say there's a lot of great companies out there. CLI Studios, not to say we're a great company, but a company that can help basically dance studio owners solve some of these problems. We encourage our members all the time to reach out to us and to ask if you're looking to book a workshop. I think using your network, the big thing is like, if you know other studios that have brought in teachers, when you travel to conventions, if you can ask other teachers for their experiences, getting that sort of feedback from others is key, because sometimes you don't know until the person's in your studio. In using your own personal network of teachers, of other sort of dance companies, whether it's Dance Studio Owners Association or another sort of network, I think that can be a great first place to start. I always say I think it's hard for dance studio owners who don't have connections to know what they're getting. I think a second step is to really don't be afraid to ask questions to the choreographer, to say, do you have referrals from another studio owner that I could talk to? I think that's perfectly fine. Do you have examples of videos and classes you've taught? Can you send me just a piece of your choreography or your reel or your bio and background? What are some other teachers or studios you've taught in my state or around the country? Starting to ask just the right questions. And those are maybe a few of them. Or even questions like, asking them how they're passionate about teaching. I think that's important too, is to have really passionate teachers who not only care about coming in and teaching a class, but also like educating students. We really look for educators at CLI Studios, not just people who come in and teach master classes. So I think the first thing I would do is look in your network. You're welcome to reach out to us on CLI Studios. On our website, we have a contact form. We get lots of inquiries from studio owners with these types of questions, and we're happy to help. So using your network, whether it's personal or professional, and then also don't be afraid to ask the choreographer the questions that you really want to know. Like, what is their experience? What is their passion in teaching? what are they, if they were to come in for this many classes, how would they set it up? Don't be afraid to ask them, because you're the one who's paying for them to come in. So you want to make sure you get the right experience for your kids.
Yeah, totally. All really great advice. The other thing I want to just throw in there is also ask them to give you some references from like the last 2 or 3 studios that they've been to, and call those studios and get their thoughts on the experience. That's a really important one.
Definitely.
John, we're running out of time, so I guess I just want to wrap up by asking you, you guys talk to so many dance studios every single day like we do. What's like a couple of gold nuggets, some tips that you'd like to leave our studio owners with that's going to help them to grow their business?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that we try to do at CLI Studios is a lot of times you can get bogged down in the nitty-gritty, the daily tasks, your checklist of things to do every day. What we try to do is really think about what are some of the most important things for me to do this month, whether you're focusing on marketing like social media, or getting new students enrolled, or really working on upselling some of your current customers to take more classes. Really focus on like what are the goals that you want to accomplish in the short term and in the long term, and make sure you're carving out time every day or every week to like spend time thinking about those things. I think it's really easy to get, as a studio owner, everybody knows there's just so much going on that you could focus on just the daily tasks and get through a whole year. And then you're 1 year later without focusing on some big initiatives that you might really help your business. I think it really takes discipline to, even when you're busy, to say, I'm going to take the next hour. I'm not going to respond to email. I'm not going to like pick up my phone. And I'm really going to think about my roadmap for social media, or my roadmap for how am I going to bring in 10 new students this fall, or 20 new students. What are the action steps? How am I going to engage my team? And that doesn't necessarily help some of the tasks on your task list, but those will be there when you can come back to them. But if you spend some time every day, every week, focusing on the bigger picture issues, I promise it'll really help your business, and it'll help you think just more clearly about your mission, your goals as a company and as a business owner. I think that's we still try to do that you have to actively do it every day, even if you build into your schedule. It's just making sure you take that time. And I think that's probably the best advice that I could give, because we're doing that right now, is just trying to make sure we focus on some of the big picture things.
Yeah. Perfect advice, and a great way to end our conversation. John, where can our listeners, guys, if you're a member of DSOA, the association, you get some great offers from CLI, so make sure you reach out to Mel for those. But John, for everyone else that's listening, where can they get more information about the great work you guys are doing?
Yeah, so on our website, it's clistudios.com. CLI stands for Create, Learn, Inspire. So it's clistudios.com. There's a contact button. There's a live classes page, which allows you to like fill out a form to be a partner studio. We love just getting on the phone with studio owners. Reach out to us. We'll tell you, we'll get on the phone with you. We'll talk to you about your studio. You can learn about us. We're a very personal company. We work very closely with our studio owners. So just go to our website, clistudios.com. Reach out to us in any way on the site, and we'd love to speak with you and just talk about technical shops in ways you can use technology to help enhance your business.
Yeah,
really great to be here. Thanks. I always appreciate everything you do for the dance community.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for joining us today. For all the resource links from the show and to receive access to our free dance studio growth training, make sure you visit transformmydancestudio.com.